Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. This week is Unknown Gems. We're going to be looking at bands that are lesser known, hopefully connecting some fans with their new favorite bands and some bands with some new fans. Bit of a tongue twister, but that's what we are doing. I'd like to remind everybody, if you enjoy the content I'm making, please consider a like, a subscribe, and ringing the bell. Today's band is called Impale. We're checking out a song from them called Wind Shears. And they only have 122 YouTube subscribers. Pretty low. Let's see what they're all about here. So we're in 5/4. Very interesting 5/4. We're on the downbeat for 1, 2, and 3, but the offbeats for 4 and 5.
After it's done, create more crucial. Yes, it had to be done.
Getting a little funky. Really loving the ghost notes on the snare. Oh, and a saxophone. Yeah, beautiful lines. Nice bass work. Really letting that solo breathe. I love the increasing intensity. Yeah. Getting some mathy elements in here. Some very harsh transitions, but very intriguing. I think we have an inverse melody line happening here, where the counterpoint is the same thing as the main melody line, but inverted. Maybe upside down or reversed or something like that. Okay, so we got some weird time going on here. And it keeps changing. Yeah, so we're alternating 5/4 with something else, and that something else was changing every repetition. love these ethereal vocals. It just works well with the atmosphere the vocal sections have. I mentioned an inverted counterpoint, but it might just be a round or a canon. I think this is the first time we've entered 4/4. This progression is beautiful. Yeah, that's a real jazz ending right there. Well, I mean, that's not, but that little flourish there, real jazzy. My eyebrows can't go. All right. My eyebrows could not be raised anymore, but I was very. What in the world is that? Tenacious D, the Metal Live 2020. Dang, this is like getting really good recommendations from YouTube these days. So yeah, phenomenal stuff right there. Here's what I want to point out first, though, before we really get into this, is that it many times when we feature rock bands that feature different instruments, so like Between the Buried and Me tends to bring in xylophones often, at least in what we've listened to so far. But when we see that, the core band doesn't really disappear. Now it is rock or metal with a xylophone, or rock and metal with a saxophone, rock and metal with a string quartet. The core drum, bass, guitar aspect doesn't leave. The cool thing right here is we have this electric guitar, we have a strong bass, and we have, at times, rock-oriented drumming aspects. There are a lot of ways, or we would have a lot of reasons to help support an argument if we were to say that this is a rock song. The cool thing is that even though it's a rock song, the electric guitar and even an acoustic guitar doesn't show up too often. It is viewed no differently than any other instrument. It is not given any extra weight. So it's really cool that in one lens, I'm not sure how the band sees themselves, or on another wave, what is normal for the band, what their typical instrumental makeup is. But in one way, we can say that this is a rock song that incorporates saxophones and a few other instruments. I know there was a xylophone in there. Well, technically a glockenspiel. I am correcting myself on that. I can get into that another day, but I was taught improperly growing up about what a xylophone was. So they utilize these instruments from other genres, but it isn't a rock band with these other instruments. It is just a band. they might use some rock influences, and I would say that they do have quite a few rock influences actually. But it's not as important to include the rock instruments all the time. It's more important to include whatever the section is asking for, what would make it pop, what would give it the most impact. So we do have these really big rock moments when the electric guitar comes in, and the intensity rises, the volume rises. We get these big rock moments, but the electric guitar isn't utilized throughout the entire song. There's moments when it's put down and possibly the person goes and plays another instrument. And I love that. It is unique for what we tend to listen to here. Um, the other thing, and I'm just really digging this has been a really good handful of days for jazz oriented stuff. There's just a lot of really cool jazzy elements going on in here. We have the saxophone, we have the entire set, the sax solo, which I want to go back to and listen again because it was so well done. Plenty of pause, held out notes, these moments of really understanding where the song needed to go and just delivering on that. We had some nice runs, and they would slow down a bit and then land on a nice half note, held that out, and then because it's a saxophone, I feel like we tend to see more of this with woodwinds and brass and anything that requires breath is rests. We don't tend to hear rest too often in guitar solos, and I think part of that is just the rock and metal culture. You know, what's a typical awesome guitar solo? Someone who's shredding, right? So if you're not shredding, you're not writing a good solo. It says 80s hair metal kind of solo writing, even 90s thrash metal where solos were real popular too. You're always shredding. That's what you need to be doing, right? Um, just between that and the fact that you don't need to stop playing on a stringed instrument, you can just keep going. We don't tend to hear too many breaks or rests in guitar solos, but it is something that sort of has to exist in woodwinds, and I love that it does here. The saxophone allows the solo time to breathe, to expand and compress. No. Yeah, expand and compress. Those are opposites, right? Um, yeah, and to have this nice ebb and flow to the writing. So much so that the saxophone actually took a bar and a half off, I think, during the solo. And I thought maybe the solo was done, and the saxophone came right back in, and I love that. There's just this understanding of, like I said, what the song wants to do, where it wants to go, and then just delivering on that. Um, we have tons of instances where the song is just hyper layered, right? And I mentioned at one point that I heard an inverse counterpoint, and what that means, this is actually a really fun way to write layers in your music. You write your melody line, you give it to another instrument, so you're technically doubling up on the part, but this time you flip it upside down. So in the treble clef, if a note was on the lowest open area, which would be F, it would be, can I do this? Oh, right there. Right between the bottom line and the line above it, that would be an F in treble. And you flip it, now it's in the highest area, and that would be an E, an octave higher. And you do that for the entire thing. You just flip it all over, and you get a really nice harmony to it. You can also reverse it, and the last note is now your first note, and the first note is now your last note. And there's all sorts of ways to create variations on a melody, and then play that with the melody, and you get some really cool counterpoint. Sometimes it doesn't always work. There may be some tweaks you need to do. Maybe they're stepping on each other's toes. Maybe there's one particular note that really grinds. And so you might have to hand tweak it a little bit. But for the most part, it's a really nice way if you're kind of stuck writing to add something else to the song without really having to think about it. You can just kind of do it and see how it works. Um, and I thought I heard that here, but maybe it wasn't. It could have just been a round, which is when two instruments or three instruments or infinite amount of instruments all play the same thing, but it's delayed by time. So the first person might start it on bar 1, the second person might start it on bar 3, the next person might start it on bar 5, and every 2 bars, somebody else jumps in. They start at the beginning, but now they're playing the first bar of the phrase while the person ahead of them is playing the third bar of the phrase, and the person ahead of them is playing the fifth bar of the phrase. If you're familiar with stuff like Frere Jacques and this idea of different people starting at different points in time, "Row, row, row your boat" is another one that is popular, kind of a popularized song in this style. That might have been what was going on. Um, and it's interesting because I was pretty sure about the inverted counterpoint, but when the section came back, I didn't quite hear it. And it made me think that maybe it was just a heavily layered section utilizing similar rhythmic ideas. And a round would do that, or it could just be completely written from scratch. But yeah, I have to go back to that section. I would love to have some sheet music for that if Seven Impale has any. That would be pretty cool. Let me check. Yeah, they don't have anything in a description about it. Not many bands do, but I had to check. So, yeah, I would love to know what's going on there. It sounds like it's a pretty cool technique, but it also just might, it very well could just be some layered writing, all hand-picked notes. Um, but yeah, really cool stuff there. I love the range. There's a lot of dynamics going on here. Width dynamics, layering dynamics, timbre dynamics, volume dynamics, even expressive ideas. We go between like these really big epic moments and then these super small atmospheric ideas and everything in between. These guys are just super talented with that. And yeah, I am extremely interested in hearing more from them. They they do what I would love. So this is what I would like to look more into. It's a merger of two of my favorite things. We have rock and we have jazz. I do have a love for classical, but it does not top jazz. Don't tell that to classical. I absolutely love jazz and rock. They work together so well. Jazz fusion, anyone? I mean, we did a whole week looking at stuff like that. But these guys take it to another level. And to me, their work feels more closer to jazz. Whereas when we checked out Jazz Fusion Week, a lot of that stuff was closer to rock. I think these aren't entirely in the same boat as something like Miles Davis during the height of jazz fusion, where that was almost predominantly jazz with a splash of rock. This sort of sits in the middle, where we have some jazz ideas and we have some rock ideas, and neither one of them is really too powerful, pulling in one direction. It kind of sits right in between, right in the middle of those two genres. Um, and while typically I enjoy pushing a little closer to the jazz side on my jazz fusion. I did really enjoy that. Is that? No, it's not. I gotta find some live footage of this if they have any. I mean, they're I guess they're a small band, only 100 subscribers, 700 views on this. I don't even know if they have any recorded live performances, but I would love to see some. Oh, they do. They have 9. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna dig into this. For sure. Oh, they got they got practice video too. Yeah, yeah. I'm really digging this. It looks like this album might only have 5 songs on it, but we're still looking at a 40-minute album. 10, 25, 33, 40, 40, almost a 50-minute album. 45 minutes with just 5 songs. Yeah, this is probably some real good stuff in here. Um, yeah. I could just keep rambling about how much I enjoyed this on a casual level, even though I mean there's a ton to talk about. I would really need another listen. No, it is a complex song. I only picked up on so much to talk about, but I guarantee another listen, I'd have another 10 minutes of stuff to talk about. Third listen, I'd have another 10 minutes to talk about. I don't think I would stop finding cool things in this specific song for a while. But those are my thoughts on 7 Impales. Wind Shears, this is where you guys come in though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not. Anything that stuck out to you, anything that really clicked, maybe things that didn't work for you as well. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree. It's a really cool, convenient thing. It has everything in there. You want to check out the Discord, you want to support on Patreon, you want to check out the Twitter, you want to check out some spreadsheets. You want to see what I've been listening to on Last FM? Links, all of them in that link tree. It's a real convenient thing. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All those things help out the channel immensely. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, with another hidden gem. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.